What's going on, Internet? Nerdlocker.com here for a different episode of our podcast. This one is going to be Patrick and myself reviewing Doctor Strange because we got to see it this weekend.
Yes, we did. First of all, we got to remember Chiwetel. What was it?
I think we already fucked it up.
I think we just screwed it so bad. We're so sorry.
We looked up how to say it.
We actually had to look it up how to say it. Here we go. See if we can get this for you guys. If it'll play.
Oh, fuck.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
And he played...
Yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor played Mordo. So now we got that out the way so we don't have to worry about butchering his name later on.
Yes.
We really do apologize because he was awesome in it.
Actually. He was amazing. Also, this is going to be full of spoilers, so maybe listen to this after you've seen the movie because we want to talk about all the fun stuff that happened.
Exactly.
I really liked him, and when I found out he wasn't going to be a villain in that, it was kind of throwing me for a loop.
Exactly.
But I think the relationship they established through everything that happens in the movie between the two of them was really well done. Yeah,
big time. So, like, just to put your arms around it, it's a reset, right? It's kind of like we're establishing a new lead character in the Marvel universe. Doctor Strange follows the same story archetype as Iron Man in many ways, where you have this reluctant hero or this brilliant person who is very self-centered, very into themselves, but is thrusted into the Marvel universe. You made a good point after we watched the movie, which was it wasn't like Tony Stark's character where he chose to be Iron Man. It was more of, oh crap, I've got to do this now.
Yeah, like there's a point in the movie where they're explaining to Doctor Strange what is going on in the world with Dormammu and Mad Malkinson's character, who is Caecilius.
Caecilius, yeah.
And he's basically like a rogue sorcerer who is trying to bring Dormammu into our universe because he believes that it's just the right thing to do.
Right.
And it wasn't like super villainous. It was just like he believes in a different path. But when they're explaining this to Doctor Strange, he's like, nah, I just want to fix my hands.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit about any of this.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, again, you know, Doctor Strange is Stephen Strange, which was a brilliant neurosurgeon, brilliant surgeon just in general, gets in a car accident, completely annihilates his hands. And by the way, that scene...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, where he gets in the car accident, it was like, oh, shit, that hurt. Because you just felt that.
And it was quick. It wasn't like a build-up or anything. He's just driving and...
Goes off a cliff.
Yep.
But this is the bad thing. So he hits a car, goes off a cliff, and then goes right into a barbed wire fence, and then the car goes into a river. Or
like he's like halfway underwater.
Yeah, so it was like all kinds of bad, first of all. And when you guys do watch the movie, you will cringe and you will grab your hands.
Oh yeah, no, because they show like everything's moving fast, but as soon as the dashboard wraps around his fist, you're just like it's slow motion, and you're just like, oh. Jesus. Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot going on, but it was definitely good. And as time goes on, he's trying to figure out ways to solve his problem with his hands, and he turns to alternative medicine and goes off to, Tibet or someplace like Tibet to.
Well, he hears about somebody who was paralyzed in an accident. And he hunts the guy down, basically, and the guy tells him he went to Tibet and, looked for this place, and he's been good ever since. And that's kind of like the start of everything.
That's kind of the start of the thing. And the cool thing that I took away from the movie was the fact that Caecilius and Doctor Strange kind of had the same path. They were both broken men.
Yeah.
Remember they talked about that?
They were both really...
just grieving, their world had been turned upside down, and Caecilius took to the mystical arts to kind of find himself, but he ended up finding Dormammu.
Yeah.
And finding out that, eternal life is something that he could achieve by betraying the whole universe, basically.
Yeah. I mean, everyone involved.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'll just trade the universe for eternal life.
What I did think was cool was kind of just like how they, because in the comic books, Doctor Strange is a doctor and he's cocky, but like you don't really see his wanting to excel and everything like that.
Right.
And you watch him join this group of sorcerers, and he's just like, it's just like being a doctor. Like he is like, oh, all I have to do is study and practice and do this. Like, and he's, as soon as he starts getting it, he really starts getting it. Yeah. And he just starts doing a bunch of shit like he's technically not ready for, but he's like, what? I'm just reading and learning. And everyone's like, what the fuck how are you doing this?
Yeah. Basically, you get a glimpse into the brilliance of Doctor Strange and what made him such a brilliant scientist and surgeon through that way. And then next thing you know, he's like skipping levels. He's like the smart kid in class that just got everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and then you end up not liking him. But the one thing was that you got a chance to see his funny side.
Yeah, you did.
As well.
There was a lot more humor in the movie than I initially thought, but it wasn't like out of place.
Right.
Like the whole fight scene where the cloak finally gravitates to him.
Yeah, the cloak of levitation.
Starts fucking up this dude,
which
is really cool.
Which was awesome.
With him still being in the what was the city called? It's funny, the whole time I'm watching, I'm like Namba Parat, and I'm like, oh wait, that's DC. My bad. Yeah. Well, that's where you get introduced to Wong, and he's a much different character than the Wong you're used to in the comic books, which I thought was really good, though.
Yeah, this Wong was a lot stronger, less subservient, more on the same level as Doctor Strange.
Yeah, he's training to do the same thing. Or he's been training to do the same thing that Doctor Strange is doing. Where I'm not really sure that Wong does that in the comics. I think he's like mystically inclined, but I don't think he's like trying to do everything they're doing.
Yeah, like especially this last run of Doctor Strange, you kind of get I feel kind of bad for Wong in this.
If you're reading Jason Aaron's,
the Jason Aaron's run.
Doctor Strange right now, there's a big thing going on, like a big thing that Wong has been doing, like kind of behind his back, but it's like to protect him. Yeah, and I mean it's a great book. You should be reading that.
You should definitely be reading that. Especially if you're going to see this movie, you need to go pick that up. It's in trade now too. So.
First volume's out. Yeah,
first volume's in trade, so you should definitely go pick that up. But yeah, it's a different Wong, stronger. I think the relationship has been put into play that these guys will be working together, as a whole, as a team. The Mordo Strange relationship is kind of neat. I think I thought it was actually kind of cool, and like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, you kind of get this. It's hard to explain. I would almost compare it to Anakin Kenobi.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, because they're not at each other's throats or anything. Right. But they definitely see things differently.
Completely.
And by the end of the movie, it's very clear that like Mordo is just, things keep happening throughout the movie, and you keep kind of seeing Mordo sort of like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Right, and Mordo seems way more rigid too.
Oh yeah, way
more rigid. Like this is what it has to be. This is how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. It's like these are the rules. Don't break them. Whereas, Doctor Strange is kind of like, I can do what I want because I'm smart. But with all the training and stuff, I know there was a lot of controversy behind her getting cast, but Tilda Swinton did an amazing job as the Ancient One.
Yeah, I'll have to say, I have to agree. And you got to understand, like, this comes from myself reading Doctor Strange as a kid. Doctor Strange was the first trade paperback I ever picked up. We're talking a long time ago. I won't even go into dates because it was just a long time ago. But as a kid, I picked it up. I didn't know what the hell was going on. It was just like, oh, these are cool colors. Not understanding that, this was written in the 60s and everybody was tripping balls the whole time. I didn't get it.
I'm sure there were a lot of drugs involved in
yeah. Back
there
then.
were watching some of the scenes in the movie. I was like, man, these people have definitely done drugs before. There's a few. When Doctor Strange first shows up, the Ancient One kind of opens his third eye to like the different dimensions and all this other shit. And there's a few points where I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I'm so glad I'm not on anything watching this. So I would definitely suggest for those out there who like to experiment, don't go see this on anything.
No, you're gonna have like a good 5 minutes there where you're just not having a good time.
Exactly. But it was definitely an experience though. You kind of get a peek into those 60s and 70s comics, and the ability that CGI has brought out is you can actually experience it in kind of real life.
Yeah.
The
other thing is I'm not a fan of 3D movies at all, but this is definitely a movie to see in 3D.
Yeah.
There's just certain things I think you're going to lose seeing it, normally.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one where I feel like that's a necessary thing to see it in.
Oh, for sure. Because I now, after watching it in 3D like we did, I feel like if we watch it in regular, 2D, it's kind of seems a little flat.
It's going to seem flat.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to seem flat. The other... Well, back to Tilda Swinton.
Oh, yeah.
Not that we've seen her in many action roles, but she kicks ass in this.
Yeah. She actually holds her own. Like, normally she's in these very regal, I don't fight type... What was the one? Constantine.
Yeah,
was the other one.
yeah. I was going to say.
Yeah, Constantine was the only one I've seen her in any kind of action-esque role.
Yeah. And she kind of is... I feel like she's responsible for the rift between Doctor Strange and Mordo, but I feel like she's also responsible for... Because you're spending the whole movie watching this selfish guy just be like, no, I'm literally here to fix my hands. I don't care about anything else. And she definitely opens him up to like understanding how big things are. And like, you're a great neurosurgeon and you could be a great neurosurgeon again. But the spectrum that you're looking at is so tiny and you could be that person on a much larger scale. But she also kind of shows that like sometimes you have to bend the rules to do what's right. And
exactly.
And that's where Mordo is like, not at all.
Not okay with this.
Yeah, this is completely fucked up.
Yeah, I'm not cool with this. He's completely against it, and I do agree with you. It's even though the Ancient One has always been small Asian guy for the most part in all the comics. It was good to have her in somewhat of an action role.
Yeah.
It was good to see her mold Strange into this movie he's supposed to be, and I think there was a line in the movie where she says that if I showed you all the bad things that could happen that we've prevented, you would run.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. She's like, if I told you exactly what we're doing, you would get the hell out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So it sets it up really, really well. The Sanctum Sanctorum was flipping awesome.
I thought that was a cool introduction to have him get there because the whole time you're wondering how that's going to happen.
Right.
And it was just kind of a reluctant thing.
Right.
And
again.
But the thing is, though, is I talked about this in my video review. When they panned that whole area, I was just looking for Easter eggs.
Right.
I was like, what am I missing? What's right in front of me? I didn't catch anything.
Same thing. I did catch a couple. So the weapon that Wong uses in the battle is actually a piece that you'll see you see it throughout other comics, and I can't remember the actual magician who actually uses it or sorcerer that uses it, but I did recognize that, and I'll have to dig that up. Mordo's obviously his boots and the levitating boots that he uses in the movie. Those are actually parts of the comic you'll see. And like you said, I wanted to go back and go watch the movie again because I will watch the movie again.
Oh, absolutely.
And try to scan through for more Easter eggs because there's got to be more. But the introduction, let's go at the introduction. I did dig that part. And again, this is a spoiler. So the sanctums are in geographic locations that are supposed to be like very mystical or have magical powers or focus magic energy. And you had one in, what was it?
London, New York, and
and Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Yeah, so these places, and that's how we get to, that's how Strange gets to the New York office.
Yeah, there's what was it? Mad Mickelson, which, by the way, I love him, and I thought he was perfect for this role as the villain. But he destroys the London one, and there's an explosion, and Strange gets like thrust into the one in New York, and that's just kind of how he ends up there.
Which is it was awesome though. It was.
Oh, I thought it was great
because then you again, it's not like Iron Man where I'm going to build this suit and I'm going to go fight these bad guys. It's shit, I got blown into this New York office.
He literally continues to just get put in these situations, and he's still not happy about any of it.
Over and over again, and yeah, he's not happy about it at all. But again, he starts to come into his own. Now, let's talk about the eye. The eye Agamotto.
Okay, yeah, that's something I didn't bring up at all in my video review, and it definitely needs to be talked about because it's not at all what it is in the comic books.
Yeah, it's not at all. It's supposed to be a relic of mystical energy, mystical power, but in the movie, yes, it is. It is an Infinity Stone.
Yes, and Wong calls it that.
Yes, that's the thing that kind of put me off a little bit by it. In every single other comic, except for we had Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
We get called an Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
And not until after, not even Civil War, but after Avengers, do we talk about Infinity Stones as Infinity Stones.
Yeah, I mean, Thor and Asgard know about them.
Right.
The Guardians know about them.
Right.
But I mean, Iron Man, Cap.
Nobody on Earth
really has any concept of what it is. Right. Except now, all of a sudden, it turns out that they do.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no mention of like Thanos or anything like that, which I do think. Well, this is the time one, right?
Yeah.
This is the time stone.
Yep. This is the time stone.
Which I still want to call them gems.
Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I feel like with that, I really think Doctor Strange is going to be like the big saves the day guy for the Avengers movie.
Exactly.
Like I really think after this, I'm like, oh, he's going to bust in and it's going to be glorious. Off topic, there is a rumor that Marvel got the rights to Fantastic Four, and that's when they're going to be introduced. Is like they're going to save the day as well.
Yes,
which would be great.
That would be awesome.
I hope they keep that quiet though. I hope there's no casting news or anything like that. Like I would love to see that movie and just be like, completely oh my god, floored. It's the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
But speaking of other spoilers, this is the mid-scene credits.
Oh yes.
And this is why it makes me think that this is going to act like Iron Man 1 for the next wave of heroes.
Right.
Because at the end of Iron Man 1, you kind of have, Nick Fury, and he's bringing up the Avengers and all that.
Right.
And now you have this sorcerer who's super powerful, and Thor is sitting with him, which was cool as hell. Turning the tea into the beer and then filling the beer back up.
Every single time he drank it.
Yeah. But he basically says, he's like, so you guys, he says, I have a list of people I have to watch to make sure that the realm stays safe. He's like, your brother Loki's on that list. What is he doing here on Earth? And Thor's like, we're trying to find our father. And he goes, yeah, I was like, oh God, just do it.
Just do it.
And he's like, well, if I help you find Odin, you guys will leave. And he's like, yep. So Doctor Strange is like, let's get to it. And I was like,
and just gets up.
Yes. That was awesome. And that to me, that was kind of like an Avengers Initiative moment.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, you're officially making this bigger. Because this is the first side we've seen of mysticism and everything else. Like, Asgard is gods, but they're technically, it's space. It's a different planet. And they kind of establish that in Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like a different side, and I really feel like he's going to be the new Tony Stark of all of this. That was amazing.
That was absolutely amazing. When it was sitting on the couch, it was like a doctor-patient session, almost. So he's sitting there with his hands, studying.
He had the gloves on too. That was cool.
That was crazy. And I was like, oh my God, this is getting better and better. And then he talks about, let's get to it. And just gets up. I'm like, very Sherlock Holmes. And that was one thing that I did. That's what it was. It was very Sherlock Holmes. The way he was sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
I had a huge problem with disconnecting Benedict Cumberbatch because you kept calling him.
I call him Cucumber Bandersnatch.
I keep saying that in my head. I have to
It's
stop
the
doing
worst.
that.
I'm sorry.
But I have a huge problem with trying to disconnect him from
Everything else he's done.
Everything else he's done, and more so from Sherlock because he's such a good Sherlock.
Oh, that is some of the best. Like
Yeah.
I love him as Sherlock. That was something somebody said as after credit scene. It was like Doctor Strange is sitting in the
the
Santorum,
yeah.
and then the TARDIS shows up, and Sherlock walks out of it and goes, "Well, this is getting strange." Like, I mean, as cool as that would be, but
that would be kind of awesome.
I do have to say too. I thought about this as well. When you look at the cast, I mean, like to have Tilda Swinton, and Mads Mikkelsen, and all them, like, and even Benedict Cumberbatch, like he hasn't been in too much, but they're all really accomplished with what they've done. And I feel like as a cast, this was sort of elevated above some of the previous Marvel movies for a first movie.
Yeah, no. I mean,
because when Iron Man 1 came out, like, yeah, it was Robert Downey Jr., but that like saved his career. That brought him back with everything, you know?
Right.
And
right.
I mean, Terrence Howard was cool, but I mean, the biggest name in that movie was definitely Jeff Bridges.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like the heavy hitter.
Exactly. Whereas this, I feel like all of these people are really known for just.
And even with Chuate,
got it. Yeah, I mean
he's Academy Award nominated.
Yeah.
And I think he won. Did he win?
I don't know if he didn't.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he did win for 12 Years a Slave. And it was like all these like heavy hitting actors in a movie that's been directed by the guy who wrote Sinister.
Which is nuts. I do have to say there was a lot of trippy shit in this movie. He did not win. There's a lot of, let me see, for which he received an Academy Award.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trippy stuff in this movie, but none of it was like creepy, crawly, like I thought it would be with a horror director.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we'll get there, which it might have been too much to start out a franchise like just to be horrifying.
That might have been just a bit much for him.
Yeah, but I do think it was still a good introduction. And yeah, some of this stuff that that is done in this movie is trippy as all hell. Like,
right.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's just a matter of setting the character up, making the universe much bigger. And now I'm kind of interested to see how this is going to weave in because this is the first movie that sets up, you know, you got Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you got Ragnarok, Ragnarok's first, right?
Ragnarok is, I think, right before Guardians 2.
Okay, so we've got Ragnarok, then we have Guardians 2, and we've
Captain Marvel's coming, Black Panther's coming.
Yeah, and we've got Doc Strange just like sitting in the middle of all this shit.
Well, Guardians, you expanded it to space, but there was no connection yet with space and Earth.
Yeah.
You know, besides him getting abducted, it's not like they were doing anything to save Earth. They were out doing their own thing.
Right.
And I feel like Captain Marvel's going to help bridge that as well. But yeah, Doctor Strange definitely is sort of sitting there watching everything. And, you know, talking about how he's going to basically be the new Iron Man, it is interesting to look at how his specific world is and to connect him with people like Black Panther, like Captain Marvel. You know, it's going to be a much different Avengers type team. Because, I mean, even if you read the comic books, like if you remember the first Civil War, when all this is going on, they go to get Doctor Strange, and he is like, dude, I have much bigger shit to deal with. Like, you have no idea you guys fight whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
There's more shit going on here.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what the new threats are and what, you know.
But you still have if you're going back to the Marvel comic book universe, you still have to deal with the whole Illuminati thing. Because like Ragnarok,
and that's something they could form. That's easily something they could put together here.
So that it might be something that we might see in Ragnarok because we know the World War Hulk or Planet Hulk storyline is supposed to be mixed in there somewhere.
Yeah, well, they had his armor at Comic-Con.
Right.
I mean, man, we said this as we were leaving the theater too. I'm a big Thor fan, but I know the first two Thor movies weren't everybody's favorite.
Mm.
And I feel like with this one, you know, before it's like, oh look, they're gonna have they're gonna have Bruce Banner in it, they're gonna have Hulk in it.
Right.
They cast like, oh my god, everybody in it.
Yeah, there's like a ton of people.
Who is it? Keith? No. What is his name? Carl Urban is going to be the executioner, which I'm so stoked for. Jeff Goldblum is going to be the collector.
That's going to be...
or the grandmaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot with that too, but I feel like, especially now adding Doctor Strange to that, they're really like trying to just...
You got to step the game up.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
I always think about what happened in, what was it, Civil War? No, it wasn't Civil War. It was Ultron, when he has the visions and Idris Elba is losing his mind. So I feel like it's going to be really epic.
Yeah.
Including Doctor Strange in that is going to be something else.
I can't wait.
They do set up, too, at the very end with Mordo. The guy that Doctor Strange initially finds and tells him about, you know, this place that healed him and everything.
Yeah.
The Ancient One kind of tells Doctor Strange that he's like, oh, he uses magic to walk. Like, he channels all that into him, and you could do that with your hands, but, you know, it's selfish, and there's more that you can be doing. Mordo, at the very end of the movie, hunts him down and steals the magic away from him.
Yep.
And basically says there are too many
sorcerers,
which will be the title. Doctor Strange 2, Too Many Sorcerers.
Too many sorcerers in the kitchen.
There's just far too many sorcerers. But I thought that was cool too, because once again, it's you're going to be fighting a villain who isn't necessarily bad. He just sees things much differently than what Doctor Strange sees. So I thought that was a solid setup and a solid, you know.
Yeah. I have to agree that one was. It's going to be interesting. Again, I still feel the whole Anakin, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those like reluctant fight things. But
but
it's going to have to be done.
It's going to have to.
He's not going to let him just go around and murder all these sorcerers.
That's true. And then it would be great if they could tie that into the comic, the way the comic is, like magic dies.
Yeah, that was a great first epic event with all of that.
That would be ridiculous, and he starts going through and starts killing them all.
And I do, like, the best thing about all of this, like, I was thinking about this, and I've said it in the last couple of my videos, but, like, we have a Doctor Strange movie. We have a Luke Cage Netflix series. We are getting an Iron Fist Netflix series. Like, Black Panther is getting a movie. Mm-hmm. And I've been reading for a solid, I mean, I read a lot as a kid, but I mean, as far as picking up weekly and I've been doing that for like 12 years now.
Yeah.
And I've never had a Doctor Strange ongoing. I've had like 2 failed Black Panther ongoings.
Right.
Ant-Man has never really had anything.
Right.
And now because of these movies and these popularity and stuff, like we're seeing, like Doctor Strange has 2 ongoing titles right now.
I know.
I've never had that.
That's great.
I think in my time reading, he was in the New Avengers, and Brian K. Vaughan wrote The Oath, which was a miniseries.
Right.
And past that, I think that's all. I mean, there might have been 1 or 2 other small ones, but nothing like
ongoing. They could never get him jump started.
Now you've got 2.
Yeah.
So at the very least, like this is doing a lot for comic book readers.
And that's awesome because you know, and it's drawing talent too.
That's what I mean. They're giving it to good people. It's not like, we have a Doctor Strange miniseries written by our
newest
intern.
writer.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
our newest intern, Bobby.
Exactly.
No offense, Bobby.
Yeah, sorry, Bob. Unless you want to write Doctor Strange, I bet I don't know. Try submitting something.
Yeah.
But no, I just think it's like above anything else. That's what I really like to take away from. Is just all the stuff that we're getting now because it's popular.
Yeah, because they did the same thing with Iron Man. You know, Iron Man's always been an ongoing title, you know, but it had its highs and lows.
Yeah, I will have to say though, right before the movies came out, the Warren Ellis run was really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, before that, you know, they kind of hopped all over the place.
Yeah. So I mean, it's great to see it, and I can't wait to see what other, you know, books and characters and get that kind of nudge, You know?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
You know,
They're like, yeah, Scott Lang is in an ongoing comic. That's insane.
yeah, that's nuts,
yeah,
right?
It's all crazy.
That's absolutely crazy. So I mean, it's gonna kudos to the Marvel universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, for shining the spotlight on some of these characters that we don't know about, or not too many people will know about, but they're starting to get their time in the spotlight. I mean, I'm still waiting for the whole Namor.
Oh man, that would be so great. Isn't there a dispute with him right now?
I think so.
I think it was because he premiered in a Fantastic Four comic. I don't remember his first appearance, but I remember that's where the rights land with a lot of the.
Oh, so it's based on
based on where they, and I think that's why they've never used Kang for the Avengers movies, because although he's an Avengers villain, I think he first appeared in Fantastic Four. So that's been kind of a.
Well, maybe now that they've given up the rights, maybe we can actually get those.
I so hope that's true.
If that's true,
yeah, it might be an issue like they did with Sony with Spider-Man.
Right.
Spider-Man's next year too.
Yeah.
God damn.
There's a bunch of shit.
That's so much shit next year. It'll make up for all the stuff that disappointed you this year.
Yeah. Oh, DC. Sorry.
No, he said DC.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, okay, just off subject real quick. I did see the Wonder Woman trailer.
That looked solid.
It looked solid all the way into the end when we got the Zack Snyder razzle dazzle on the soundtrack. So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll definitely see what happens with that. I do realize just before we stop, the one person we didn't talk about this whole time was Rachel McAdams.
Holy shit! Yes, Rachel McAdams, so good.
She did a great job, and although she wasn't like as big of a lead as other females in the Marvel universe, I think she played the part she needed to.
Yeah, because we have going back to the Iron Man story. You have Pepper Potts, right? But with Rachel's character, what was the character's name?
Christine Palmer.
There's the Palmer.
Yeah,
Dr. Palmer. She was a lot stronger. I feel.
Oh, way strong. Like there was definitely a moment where, because in Iron Man, he kind of just takes advantage. He doesn't take advantage of Pepper. He just doesn't really give her the respect she deserves or anything.
Right.
And in this one, she basically
demands it.
Fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much.
He goes off on her, and she's like, "All right, fine, you piece of shit."
Peace.
You want to act like a dick? Act like a dick.
By yourself.
I thought she did a good job though too, because there's a point in the movie where he gets injured. And she has to operate on him immediately, and he appears to her in the astral form, and she loses her fucking mind. And then he's fighting someone else while in the astral form, and they're like hitting electronical stuff in the room, and she's just like trying to keep him alive.
Right.
And I thought that was
that was a great scene.
No, that was really well done. I don't know that you'll see her again, because the one thing I kept thinking about is I was like, are we going to see Clea? It's Clea, right? Mm-hmm. Like his wife or
whatever,
and his boo thing.
His boo.
Which I don't know if you read the annual. They just had that with her.
No, I did not read the annual.
They had a really good story in there with her.
I keep avoiding annuals.
I do for the most part, but this one kind of clears up the whole thing with Clea and everything.
Really?
Yeah, and
all right, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, it elaborates on that.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more. I mean, because you got to think too, all the people that he faces and fights and deals with. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm hoping somewhere down the line, being that we have Bucky and Captain America and War Machine and Iron Man, I'm really hoping we get like a Brother Voodoo.
That's what I was hoping for. Like the guy at the New York Sanctum. I was like, is that Brother Voodoo? No.
And then when he killed him, I was like, please don't be Brother Voodoo. Please don't be Brother Voodoo.
Yeah. I was actually looking at, and that was one of the things I was looking for in the background in the Easter eggs, was like maybe there's some kind of reference,
like his stick or something.
Exactly.
Just
I'm looking in the background for that, and maybe we will.
Yeah, I don't see anybody credited as Brother Voodoo, so that's awesome. I see someone credited as Daniel Drum. I think he was the guy at the Sanctum who got killed.
Yeah,
but I can't. That name looks familiar. I just can't remember who it is.
So that's good. I mean, maybe we will get a Brother Voodoo, and that would.
You got that, and you still got like Hellstrom.
Dude, Hellstrom would be actually pretty cool.
Yeah, like they could really go in a crazy direction with these. But I kind of like that too because, like, don't get me wrong, Captain America's cool and Iron Man's cool,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it's the same base.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, now you can have a Black Panther movie where he's doing stuff in Wakanda and on Earth, and
Right.
then you can have a Doctor Strange movie where he's
not
not
on
doing
Earth.
any of that.
He's not on Earth.
Like, it's definitely like a
Other
little
than-
bigger than that.
Other dimensions and stuff. And I think, honestly, like going back to your theory of him being the savior of the day with the time stone, I think that may play out. And this is just my theory that I think that's where we're going to get our reset of our casting for Cap and
Oh, you
Iron
really?
Man.
You think so?
I think so. With the Infinity War series, I think that's going to be.
Well, because Chris,
He's done, isn't he?
I think he said he's done after Avengers.
Yeah. And then
Hemsworth might be done. I think Robert Downey Jr. said he was going to be done,
Yeah.
but I remember him coming out being like,
maybe
I'll play
maybe.
Tony Stark whenever you need Tony Stark. But
Right.
like, I'm not opposed to them just recasting people and continuing the story as long as they're good.
No,
But,
I'm not opposed to it either. And
but
I
I
think
feel like certain, like Captain America, whatever, Thor, whatever. But I definitely feel like Robert Downey Jr. It's going to be tough to have an Iron Man movie without Robert Downey Jr.
yeah, that's going to be
It's
really
gonna be like
tough.
depending on who they cast as James Bond next movie. It's gonna be like Daniel Craig was so good.
Yeah, you got to step into some big
Yeah, like
ass shoes.
it's not like Pierce Brosnan.
Right.
This is gonna be a pretty big thing. To
Yeah.
get a new Tony Stark.
New Tony Stark. So I honestly think that's what is going to happen. Infinity War is going to reset because it's going to be such a cataclysmic event.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think like the Aya Agamotto is a very important thing,
Right.
and being that it's an Infinity Stone now,
Yeah.
it's like it's not gonna be around forever.
Right.
There's something. I mean, if
Which was a little upsetting for me.
that's what was my first thing too, because I was like, well, shit. Like,
Yeah, because like it's a standard piece
of Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Like that's his thing.
that's his thing. And now you're gonna have like
you don't know what's
Thanos
going to
come
happen
down and, like,
after. I mean, he could get it back and put it back in there, but I mean,
true. But I mean,
the thing is, he's not going to have it for a minute.
honestly, dude, this is funny as shit. What I kept thinking was like, okay, if the eye is the Infinity Stone, I just see Thanos as like Debo from Friday, rolling up
Ripping it
off Doc Strange's chest.
Ancient One gave me that chain.
Yeah, exactly. What chain? Nothing.
Nothing. Doctor Strange shows up to the big fight with a black eye.
Exactly. It was like just Craig and Smokey is like Tony Stark and Captain America.
Damn, he got knocked the fuck out, Doctor Strange.
That's it.
Oh shit.
That's exactly what I was thinking in the
man.
movie when he's like telling him what
If at any point in time he rips that off of him, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I'm gonna lose my shit.
I'm gonna be in that theater with a bunch of people who are emotionally invested, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna laugh. I'm gonna be like, the Ancient One gave me that chain.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's
just
a good one.
that's it keeps running over and over in my mind. So it's really bad. I need to stop watching Friday. Damn you, Chris Tucker.
All right. So overall, what would you rate this?
Honestly, I would have to rate this as a 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls for myself. Basically because it's everything that I wanted in a Doctor Strange movie. It was everything that I needed to have happen in a Doctor Strange movie. You had Benedict Cumberbatch, you had tripped out graphics and tripped out scenes, and you had him become this sorcerer. Not Sorcerer Supreme yet.
No, and that's the thing. They don't have a Sorcerer Supreme at the end of this movie.
Yes.
Ancient One does get killed.
Right.
And yeah, by the end of it, there is nobody in charge.
Nobody's in charge. So
The last thing you see is him and Wong go off to the New York.
office.
Yeah. Which is funny, too, is you think about all the people that were introduced. You were introduced to Mordo, Wong, Wong, Strange, and the Ancient One.
Yeah.
Mordo's off. Those two are there. Ancient One's dead. Who the fuck is running this place? Like, they just leave like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well,
Put the eye back, go to New York.
Yeah. We'll get a slice of pizza and call it a
I
day.
guess. So,
But in all honesty, though, all the way around, it was a great movie. If you are a fan, even in the slightest, of Doctor Strange, I definitely suggest going to see it. Again, please don't take any mind-altering drugs before going to see this movie because it probably about 5-10 minutes.
see it first.
Yeah.
See how you feel.
And then come back.
And then if you really want to do it,
revisit.
at least know exactly what you're getting into. Because sober, that was a lot.
That was a lot. What
I mean,
about you?
I was hungover. I wasn't as bad as I thought I'd be.
Right.
I woke up because it was we saw this the day after Halloween, and I drank a little bit Halloween night. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna suck because I know it's gonna be in 3D. But no, it was fine. I definitely give it a 5 out of 5. I think this is one of the better origin stories they've done. Like I said, just because of the reluctancy he has, and like, it's definitely not like someone seeking to be a hero. You know, Captain America wanted to be a hero. Thor is Thor.
Right.
Iron Man wanted to come back and do better. Batman wants to do this. Like, he legit, like, when he says in the movie, I'm not interested in any of this. And then by the end of him accepting it, I really like that a lot. So I'm excited to see what they do with everything.
Yeah, that was awesome.
All right, that's going to do it. We will see you guys soon. Thanks for listening. And until then, have a nerdy week.